I want to start off this presentation with just a little bit of history related to my background, my current situation. So my name is Michael Randolph. I'm with the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. In terms of background, I started in the field as a caseworker with the Department of Social Service way back there in the early 90s. And I stayed there for about a year and decided that I had to leave because I wasn't really making a difference in people's lives. As a matter of fact, our supervisor was surprised because he thought I was a very effective worker. But I didn't think I was really making a difference. From there, I went to the legal aid. There I was a paralegal. And I worked there in the prison section, in which I would interview inmates to determine whether or not they had a case to bring against the state Department of Corrections for some type of mistreatment, be it health or a number of other things. From there, I went to the Sandtown Winchester Community Development Corporation in Baltimore. And from there, I went to Community Building and Partnership, again in Baltimore. And from there, I went to the Northwest Community Association. And from there, I came back to Sandtown with the Federal Empowerment Zone. From there, I came to West Tampa, in which I acted as the Economic Development Director. Now I'm a county board member. About 2008, the whole bubble bust. And when that bust, a lot of people that were in the nonprofit world like me lost their job, and I had to reinvent myself. Between 2008 to 2012, I went through an eviction because I couldn't pay my rent. All income had stopped. I went from an eviction to living in what I call a trailer park that was labeled uninhabitable because of the fact there was no running water, no electricity. Through all that crisis, I was able to maintain by focusing on the future. In 2014, keep in mind, I was receiving food stamps ever since I lost my job. In 2014, I moved into the federal project where I'm currently located. And from there, I launched the Center for Nonprofit and Community Development. What's amazing is that during my 4 years here in the project, I've been able to build a company that is currently doing business with clients in 10 different states. So, and the reason why I was able to do this is through technology, social media. I was able to build my base. I'm going to give you some more information about that. So the Nonprofit Center for Community Development is a 501c3 corporation. Just to give a little more history about me, I was born and raised in Sandtown, Winchester in Baltimore. My first introduction to community building came in the mid-'80s, and I was hired as a community organizer. From there, I advanced to community strategist, program developer, grant writer, to designing comprehensive solutions for poor communities. So let's talk a little bit about us, and I have to update some of these numbers right here. So again, we started in 2011, because I lost my job. We specialize in developing neighborhood planning, and economic development initiatives in poverty-stricken communities. And what we do is use what we call a social entrepreneur approach. We focus on creating national models and best practices. To date, we've been able to provide technical assistance to over, and that number is 1,800. That number now has rose to 2,800. And the entities that we provided the service for is government agencies, faith-based groups, businesses, and individuals. Now, most of the people that we provided the technical assistance for was by way of how to write a grant. That's where we provide technical assistance to businesses as well as nonprofits. To date, we've been able to work with over 350 new nonprofits in 10 different states. And we're working with all of them to create a model of sustainability. When we start with a nonprofit, we start working with them at the emerging level. The emerging level, as you know, is working with them to get their legal papers in order, 501(c)(3). Then we work with them to take them to the next level, which is the basically the next level is the level. The next level that we then work with them is on the intermediate level, and then eventually we take them to the maturity level as a 501(c)(3). Again, currently we're in 10 different states: California, Philly, Baltimore, New Jersey. And the way we was able to, and the way we're sustaining ourselves is because of technology. Because we're able to use social media now, we have about 165,000 people that are connected to us in some kind of way, either through a direct connect to a person on social media or through that person's contact. And again, we use social media as a mechanism to actually bring about change. And it's awesome what we've been able to do. Let's look at Facebook. We started with Facebook in terms of promoting what we do in 2014. Now we have close to 5,000 people on one page and another 1,000 on another page. On LinkedIn, we have over close to 7,000. And then we have another 500 on Instagram. Again, we've been able to do this with virtually no budget. The way we did it, we started in 2014 by posting things about related issues that people might see as a problem, be it drugs, be it alcohol, be it child abuse, sex trafficking. We started to do the research to show what are the best practices, and we started to get a following of people. Eventually, we were able to get a large following of people, and those people follow us today. We plan to, probably by the end of 2020, between near the end of 2020 to 2021, we plan to be working in a total of 20 states. Again, we're able to provide everything we provide online to all of these cities. That's what makes us different. We can actually go down and organize in the community, and we don't even have to be on the ground. Point of fact, in Baltimore, we're all over the place, yet we don't have an office. What we've been able to do is to use social media to have a conversation with regular people on the ground. For example, in Sandtown, there may be 4 or 5 different types of groups in Sandtown that publish about what they do. What we do on each of those groups is to make a presence. Same thing in New York. We're able to make a presence. We look at blogs, we look at chat rooms, we look at all these things before we hit a city, just to learn about who the people are and who the players are. And then when we come in with the strategy, we've already gotten support from the community. More importantly, our social media attracts not only the other nonprofits and individuals, but also we have investors that follow us, we have lenders that follow us, we have people that provide grants by way of foundations that follow us. Again, Bank of America, Chase Bank, all of these different entities follow us because we show the numbers. In order to make sure we get those groups to follow us, we drop something in their corporate mailbox. And that corporate mailbox just tells them a little bit about us and ask them if we could follow them. And bam, before you know it, you got to follow them. So now, when you look at the number of people that we touch in our category of social media, we got Republicans, we got Democrats, we got Libertarians, we got everybody that you can even think of. And all of them endorse the strategy that we've come up with in terms of how do you change poor communities using a bottom-up business model. Now, here are some of the areas that we specialize in, anywhere from anywhere from working with groups and grant writing. As a matter of fact, right now, we are arming a total of 30 grant writers that we're training right now. So when we hit a city or when we're doing something in the project, we got at least 15 grant writers that are ready to write that grant. And every city that we're going to go to, we're going to train the community on how to write grants so we can build armies. The other thing we do is business proposals. We work with doing proposals for individuals who want to start their own business. Currently, we're doing a project with Tampa Housing Authority as part of our wealth building initiative. Our wealth-based initiative is working with people in the project on first, starting their own business, and secondly, teaching them the art of understanding investment. Now, because we're in Tampa Housing Authority and because they are impressed with our product, we started with a 2-year contract. They have extended to 4 years. We're going to now begin to go into different public housing throughout Florida and eventually throughout the United States. Keep in mind, every service that we provide is done virtually online. We also do program and project development, and program and project development is important because what we do is use best practice national models when we create programs. Community organizing, mobilizing, community mapping, strategic planning, preparation, board training, nonprofit development, all phases, social entrepreneur, government procurement, and community comprehensive initiatives. Accomplishments. To date, we've been able to connect to over $75 million in grants and working on different grant proposals since 1980. These grant proposals could include the Federal Empowerment Zone, and which I was a part of the team in every community to help put together that grant in which the city got for $100 million. It could be different collaboratives that I've done. For example, in West Tampa, I put together a total, probably about what equates to about at least $1.2 million. What's awesome about us? If you go to Facebook, if you go to LinkedIn, you'll see that we have over 1,000 recommendations from people in all types of fields. From that person who is homeless to that person who's the head of a CEO bank, and all in between. And these recommendations we're getting are from the whole spectrum, from community developers to every field. We do better with this than a web page. This is our new web page in terms of how do we reach out and connect. Now, I've had over 15 years experience in developing and implementing community comprehensive initiatives in distressed and disenfranchised communities. Actually, that's 15 years. Actually, it's over 30 years now. Here's how I get my training. Now, when I was in Sandtown in Baltimore, Sandtown was selected as a community that had potential of transforming. Mr. Rouse, who's with the Rouse Foundation, brought individuals from the Enterprise Foundation, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, all your Ivy League institutions, as well as people from around the world. Because back then, Sandtown was considered to be the test tube. From that project there, we moved from what was community building partnership to the Federal Empowerment Zone. The Federal Empowerment Zone is based on the initiative started in Sandtown known as Community Building and Partnership. We set the agenda as to how neighborhoods should be transformed. So what I've done is to take the lessons from Baltimore, especially from Baltimore, because most of the different players, be it Harvard, Yale, or Princeton, when I was attending those different workshops, they told me I had the potential to learn and go back and save my community. And that was based on the number of questions that I was asking, on the number of workshops that came in to tell us how to we transform communities. These are the different areas that we are focused in on, poverty, youth, you name it. The whole, out of all of the 350 nonprofits that we've worked with, they fall into one, if not two or three of these categories. We definitely focus towards building wealth, and we think one of the ways you build wealth is through business proposals and business workshops. As you can see, we've been doing a lot of workshops and training people to start their own business. I'm specifically proud of going into the worst of the neighborhoods now, and that's the Rovers Park Public Housing and the West Tampa community, to begin to teach poor residents, those that make less than 80% of median income, to start their own business and to learn how to invest. We also do program development, and it goes anywhere from design to evaluation. Grant writing is another thing that we focus on. Again, we've had over 2,800 folks from around the country in 10 different states to take our grant writing class. Now that we are mobile with all of our work now we're doing grant writing classes, and we're reaching out throughout the United States. Anybody that has a computer, has a cell phone, has a laptop, or any other device, we can connect to you. Community building and engagement. What's important to us when we work with communities is to make sure that residents are part of the decision-making process. So we actually go out and train the community residents on those skill sets necessary to act on behalf of their community by way of critical thinking and understanding community development. These are just some of the pictures here of different areas that we've been in. Talking about community building, community comprehensive planning. This is what I love to do best. Under our community comprehensive initiative, we work with specific types of nonprofits. And these nonprofits are what we call CDC, Community Development Nonprofits. And what we do with those nonprofits in terms of how do we create change We create changes by way of what's known as the community comprehensive planning. Again, this goes all the way back to the empowerment zone up to now on lessons learned about moving the community forward. Right now, we're in West Tampa and other areas in the Tampa Bay area. We're specifically working with minority communities that change is coming to that neighborhood, but they have little say on that development, be it West Tampa, Plant City, which is here, and Florida, or Progress Village, or St. Pete. We work with them to put together a strategy in order to fight back and take back that neighborhood. We actually create what we call creating the decision-making table. We create the tables, show them how to create the tables so that they can then bring in other players. Now, an example of that is the plan I sent you on West Tampa, in which we did our, that should tell you about how we create the table. And when I say create the table, what I mean is that first you train the neighborhood, train community residents, and critical thinking, community development, best practices. So they then are able to create a plan based on best practices and evidence-based information and lessons learned, to which they then present the plan to the different players, be it government, nonprofits, lenders, investors. It's all in the video that we send you on the first community meeting we did in West Tampa to create the table. Should be a link. If not, I'll try to get you a link to that. The other thing is that we do work with foundations and corporations. For example, we did some deals in Baltimore by way of the Enterprise Foundation in 2006. They booked me back to Baltimore because of the work I did in Baltimore during the empowerment zone. They booked me back to Baltimore to work with creating a plan for the Sandtown Winchester community. Now, this deal I was able to get because of Roosevelt, who was doing some work in Sandtown, and he booked me in on the deal to do the preparation for board training and to create the critical thinking pathway that residents have to have in order to move forward with changing their community. We also do organizational development. Right now, I'm working with about 10 different clients in 10 different parts of Florida, and we're providing them with organizational development. And the organizational development we're providing them with is to focus on entrepreneurship, a focus on social enterprise as a method to gaining in money, moving away from depending upon governments and grants in order to sustain yourself. We show nonprofits when we work with them not only how to build capacity, but more importantly, we work with them in starting at least one or two businesses that they have that they can use to increase their profits by way of earned income. So let me tell you about some of the entities that we do provide service for. Again, we're talking about the Enterprise Foundation. Now, I've also worked with LIST here in the Tampa area. LIST and the Enterprise Foundation are the two big boys when it comes to community development. So I work with both of them in one capacity or another from the community perspective. Tampa Housing Authority, we're working with them now in providing training to residents in terms of how do you create wealth. We also work with other corporations like State Farm and other entities out there and corporations out there that we connect with in order to do partnerships. So that's pretty much it for this presentation. I hope it helps to give you a little bit more information about us. We are, like I said, we're doing this, man, in the project. The things that you see, if you follow me online, you'll see what I'm talking about in terms of our presence. And what people don't know is all this is being done from the project. That's why I'm able to sell a deal when I go to any poor neighborhood to begin to mobilize and organize from cyberspace. Again, I don't have to be in your city to organize, mobilize, and create change. As long as you got a phone, laptop, and some kind of device, I can get to you, and I can find you using social media. Because the other thing I do, in addition to working with comprehensive planning, I also do research. So when I in terms of research, I mean I can research anything to tell you about the need statement. Any type of research, we do that as well in order to build up a strategy. Now, in terms of community development, I got most of my experience from the University of South Florida, where I attended their community real estate development. But my first training in real estate development came in Baltimore during the empowerment zone when Bank of America was doing real estate training. And I was selected from the group in Sandtown to attend that training. Just to go back to Baltimore, but the leaders, Mr. Rouse and those other players who was running the West Baltimore deal for the enterprise used me to be their mouthpiece because I was able to be from the community and to articulate the plan. I had to articulate the plan in front of residents from around the country, nonprofits from around the country that was coming to Baltimore to see what was going on. I had to make a presentation to the business community to make an argument why it's important to them, as well as a presentation to lenders and lenders as well as investors to talk about why the program is important to them. Then I had to do a presentation with Mr. Rouse that went national with a PPS presentation. What Mr. Rouse saw in me, and that's why he was putting me in front to be the face of Sandtown in that particular project, what he saw in me was the potential to be a leader. So that's pretty much it that I have for right now. I hope this helped you in terms of understanding what I do, and I hope that from this we can create some type of partnership or some type of collaborative. But even if we don't, man, look, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to make the presentation about who we are and what we do.